kind of sitting here enjoying the music while I watch myself, my past self, you know, kind of do all of this, and yeah, the music is really good. I guess I should talk about what's going on as of right now. You'll be seeing these videos before too much longer. It's July 12th as of me posting or doing this post commentary, so these will get posted, I believe, probably the 14th. I have today's videos all already scheduled, and as a matter of fact, I am uploading tomorrow's videos right now, or actually they're probably done uploading by now. So yeah, these will probably be going up like the 14th. And I think right now everybody is eagerly anticipating the update that's going to bring blueprints into the game. Me, not so much. I'm not really a copy and paste kind of guy. I was watching Thrank's stream. He's been streaming Dyson Sphere a lot lately. A lot more. He's been streaming that a lot more than he's been streaming like anything else in general for a while now. I suppose, you know, he's probably just got the time, and he's also really sucked into the game. I guess he was a big Factorio player a while back. Though I don't think any of that ever made it to his particular YouTube channel. I never played Factorio, so I know nothing of Factorio at all. I know nothing about any of that. Yeah, he's he is eagerly anticipating blueprints, so because he's building on a massive scale. Like when I first started this playthrough, I actually kind of wanted to really play a whole lot, so that I could kind of catch up to him. And now that I've had all of these audio issues, and I've had to do, you know, I had to review the footage, you know, write down timestamps of where I have commentary, where I don't have commentary, record post commentary, then edit all of the videos, then upload the videos and all of that stuff. I haven't played Dyson Sphere Pro. Well, that's kind of a lie, because I played Dyson Sphere Program last night. I started working on what I'm going to call the Infinite Expanse, and I'm probably not going. I recorded the video of that. I didn't record any commentary because I wasn't talking about it. I may go ahead and do some kind of time lapse with all of that. Maybe I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do that. But mostly I called it the Infinite Expanse because it is the playthrough I was mentioning, or I have mentioned, I believe, at some point previously to this, where I'm doing a playthrough of the game in a system that has infinite resources. Funnily enough, I found out when I started up that system with infinite resources, the resources aren't technically infinite. I was expecting to start working on the nodes, and then like the node numbers would just like never drop. No, that's not the case. Instead, all they do is they select every single node. Like you'll see the iron that I'm pulling from right now. There's like, I don't know, what is it, like 16 nodes there or something? It's like 100 and it's 100 something iron ore just sitting there in all of those nodes. But it's like 16 nodes that make up that 100 something ore. So what happens when you select a infinite resources system to start your game is instead it just selects all of those nodes, and it sets all of their resources to 1 billion. So if you have 16 iron ore nodes there, then you have 16 billion iron ore there. So I mean, it's not technically infinite. If you never touched veins utilization, I suppose you could at least deplete one system of resources at some point, but considering the amount of time it would take to actually deplete an entire system, yeah, the resources are still effectively infinite. But yeah, I started doing that. I'm gonna develop that system kind of at my leisure whenever I feel like it. But I'm not gonna you know, play that over this playthrough here, because I want to keep making videos. and showing folks this wonderful, wonderful game. But yeah, I'm just gonna like slowly develop that system, and eventually I want to get to the point where I can start working on Dyson spheres there, because there's a lot of information. Oh, it's actually 23 iron veins over here with 1.5 million. That's a pretty good amount of iron ore for a starter system planet. Right, so now I go ahead and set up the logistics hub that's going to send the steel back home. And for whatever reason, I decided to set up the steel to go into the tower that's shipping titanium and processors and crystal silicon back home. But then I decide, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I really need to put this down. It's like I initially kind of planned for this. And I turned down the charging power here just so that I don't slow down everything else that's going on in here. But it still is kind of slow, unfortunately. I will change these tower settings at some point when I do come back. And I set that to local demand for no particular reason. There's not, you know, it doesn't care about belts. Belts don't care about local demand, local supply, any of that crap. Belts just go in or they go out. But I set it up that way anyways. And I'm not shift clicking to get rid of this line, unfortunately. So then we send this the other way, and I just kind of leave the steel in that tower. It's fine. It'll get shipped out, and then it won't ever have enough steel to take another shipment out anyway. So it'll be fine. So I'm not worried about that. And yeah, it's shipping out some steel, but it's like, meh, whatever. And whew. But yeah, so that's a pretty good amount of iron ore in that vein for a starter system. Absolutely, it's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with my starter system. But yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this series. You will see this series. Matter of fact, you're probably not even gonna see the Infinite Expanse series until I get to the point where I can start playing around with Dyson spheres. And that's going to be partially a learning experience, and then hopefully I hope it can also be essentially a guide for other players who want to know, like, what's the, not necessarily the best way to make a Dyson sphere, but like what are the mechanics involved, right? Like, is it, if I need power from a Dyson sphere, is it better to make a Dyson sphere that has a lot of nodes, or do I want one that has very few nodes and really, really big shell pieces that are made of the solar sails? Like, what exactly is the right ratio for that? Because I don't know what it is. I really don't. I have no idea. That kind of information really isn't explained anywhere in the game. I imagine if you looked at the solar sails and what their output is, maybe you could get some kind of rough estimate as to what the solar sails would do for you in the shell pieces. But the thing is, even if you just build nodes and you build like a wire infrastructure, that alone still gives you power. So it's kind of an odd thing. So I'm gonna play around with that in the Infinite Expanse, where I won't have to worry about resources, but I will again prioritize this playthrough, which is, I guess, you know, the kind of intended way to play the game, the proper playthrough, whatever you want to call it. Ah, okay, so here I decide I want to get the high purity silicon on the network. Right. Because I am going to need high purity silicon for some other things. And we kind of gotta snake this thing down the line here a little bit. It's a bit of a pain. But eventually we get it in there. Eventually we get it in there. And then I put the high purity silicon there. Local demand, remote, again, the local demands, they don't matter, but the remote supply is the important part, that I've got that covered. And then we gotta walk back here so that my construction drones can, you know, actually build the belt. And then, of course, I actually have to give it the output. So we go ahead and do that here. And I think I only give it 2 because I don't want it to completely output all of its high purity silicon. I want to have some for the production of crystal silicon. Or, yeah. You know what I mean. I'm not sure that came out right, but you know what I mean. And then I decided to double the output of processors here onto this line, because now I'm actually using them, so how much is coming out of that line actually matters to me. And I do the same with the crystal silicon, because I'm using that for particle broadband. And I'm still not happy with the production of microcrystalline components here, but at this point I'm feeding it with 2 miners to make more. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm just not getting high purity silicon over here fast enough, really. And so I'm like, okay, this is a problem that needs to be solved, and I guess I decide to arbitrarily go look at research real quick. I'm not sure why I do this. Let me look at some stuff on my phone real quick while I'm mucking about with this. Okay, so I'm looking at Casimir crystals. I need hydrogen and graphene and titanium crystals. Okay, yeah. Oh, am I looking towards green research? I might be, because I know I need Casimir crystals in order to make the, well, you don't need them straight for the gravity matrices, but you need it for components that make, or that lead to the gravity matrix. But yeah, I'm looking at this, I'm just like, I am not making enough high purity silicon to feed this. I'm just not. And I'm not happy with it. So I need to find some way to solve that problem. And I think what I end up doing is I actually end up pulling my high purity silicon line. What am I doing here? I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Okay, so I completely change that, right? And I decide let's reattach that, right? It's not the way I wanted it. And I decide to pull more because unfortunately that one sorter is not pulling high purity silicon fast enough for those smelters, those 4 smelters right there, to actually, you know, fully produce what they can. And I'm seeing, you know, okay, how, maybe I'm thinking, can I get some of this high purity silicon to run over to where the microcrystalline components are getting made? And, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of things in my way. You know, I didn't set it up in mind with the idea in mind that I was going to bring high purity silicon back over this way. That was not the plan, not at all. And I can't exactly just tear down the supplies of, oh, okay, so since I raised the conveyor belt over here, since I raised this conveyor belt, what I decide I can do here is, I can actually go ahead and run a conveyor belt under the crystalline silicon, conveyor belt, and then I can wrap it around. That's how I do this. That's right. So I decide to go ahead and wrap this around, and then I just kind of add it on to the line over here. And this will allow me to feed the amount of high purity silicon that I really need into the system. And then I go ahead and upgrade like one piece of that line arbitrarily. I have no idea why I would do that. Why wouldn't I just upgrade the entire line? I don't know. But I only put one sorter out onto here because I don't want to drain all of my high purity silicon real quickly. So this is just kind of a little bit of a band-aid, not so much a solution, just I just want to patch this a little bit. Make this situation a little bit better. That's the idea here. And I really need to put a Tesla tower down so I can fix that sorter. There you go, Fox. If there's one assembler you do want running to make processors, it is the advanced one. Alright, but yeah, now I've got a line of high purity silicon getting to that, so the microcrystalline components are getting made as quickly as they possibly can with the machinery that I have in place to do that. So now that will help to make sure that processors never stop getting made at the very least. Or I hope they don't stop getting made. It's still possible that they could, but it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. So I believe I've solved the steel problem at the very least. My power grid's still not doing super great, but I imagine the tower that I put down, yeah, it's still charging, so it will stop taking an ungodly amount of power. Well, not really an ungodly amount of power, but for my point, or my for as far as I am in the game, it's an ungodly amount of power. And so now I decide, all right, let's go ahead and head home and see if all of my efforts have paid off. If the steel is good, if the titanium is good. Right now, titanium isn't being stored, so I'm guessing I'm only. Then again, I was pretty starved for titanium back on the home world here on Ties Prime, so I don't know. Yeah, we're pretty close to Ties Prime, so I won't bother cutting out this particular trip. I don't see any point to it. But yeah, hopefully the situation resolves itself in terms of my steel and titanium ingot supply. I believe this more or less takes care of it, but then again, I don't really remember. I don't. I also need to get a gas giant collecting hydrogen and deuterium before long, or a gas giant collector, an orbital collector. That's what it's called. Collecting some gas on the gas giant there at some point. And actually, funnily enough, my Infinite Expanse system that I started last night, I only played for like 2 or 3 hours, but it funnily enough, on a system or a playthrough that has infinite resources, I actually managed to get a fire, or not a fire, a fire ice giant. So an ice giant, I guess we would call it, where the collector will collect fire ice and hydrogen off of it, and mostly fire ice. So I'll actually be able to get unlimited graphene from that, which will be really nice. I'll have to find one of those here in this system, in this playthrough, before long, because I don't really want to be using acid and what is it, energetic graphite to make the graphene. It's just like, you know, it's unnecessary. Acid is technically an infinite resource if you can find a planet with an acid ocean. Graphite, technically an infinite resource because oil is an infinite resource and you can make graphite with oil, but it gets pretty slow, so that's not really what you want to do. It would just be a lot easier to be able to straight up make it out of fire ice, since that is an infinite resource, and it creates hydrogen in the process as well, which is nice. But we're checking up on our research. Research is going well. I guess at this point I go ahead and I decide to pull a couple of things out of here manually, and I'm thinking that this will help speed up research, but it actually doesn't. And I'm not sure what is slowing down my research at this point. None of my research towers are actually... Oh, it's the blue research! That's right, I completely forgot about blue research, that I reset this thing. So I didn't have any blue research. I had it in my inventory, and that's why I was thinking blue research was going just fine. I have it in my inventory, but since I don't have the other things, yeah, now I'm realizing, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on with this? It says I have it, but it's not going down. It's not getting researched, and I really don't understand why. And it's just a big old clusterfluff. It's because I turned off the tower. So yeah, lesson to all of y'all out there. You know, don't mess with your towers like that. It's a pain. It's not a good time. It messes up all kinds of things. You want the use inventory items on, mostly just so you can keep an eye on how your research is going. Okay, so here I decide, okay, now is the time I need to expand my engine production here. So I believe we go ahead and break this shortly, and then expand my engine production as well as my turbine production. And I'm going to shut up and have some tea for a second. Ah, tea. So good. But yeah, you can pretty much see, you know, where this is heading. It's not rocket science here. We're just making assemblers, looking at making some upgraded assemblers for electric motors and whatnot, so I can make more electric turbines. Okay, so I made an upgraded assembler there so I can make more energetic turbines, and then I'm kind of thinking, okay, so I want to set up a couple more of these, and we're going to put the output for the engines in the direction of the assemblers that are going to making the electromagnetic turbines. And I put down some more of these. Eventually I'm actually going to completely remove that one assembler that's making the electric motors currently. And I'm just going to move that out of the way, I believe, so I can feed the magnetic coils and stuff over here.